Good morning, grasshoppers. Hello. I hope you had a fabulous holiday. I hope you got to see your family as much as you could under these circumstances. I hope you got to take some time for yourself and recharge those batteries. And I hope you got to just spend some time snuggling with your loved ones, pets, family members, whatever you got. Snuggle if you got them. Anyway, today we're going to talk about something important, and that is a number. Today, the number we're talking about is 57%. Now, what does that mean? Why is it important? Why is that the title of our show today? And the reason is because that number, when I came across it, it actually shocked me just a little bit. Here's why. 57% is the average. How far people are through their purchasing process before they want to talk to you. Interesting. 57% of the way through the process. They're already well over halfway into a buying decision before they reach out to you or contact you in any way. Now, that surprised me. I would think that the number would be, 10, 20%. You know what I mean? Like when people reach out to us, it's always like, we're meeting them for the first time and all of that. And we want to tell them all about ourselves and our product and how amazing this is going to be. However, important that you know that these days, people are past that already. People are way past the mark of seeing you for the first time. This is not like walking into a department store, 30 years ago. This is not your grandfather's digital marketing campaign. Anyway, people have already done a great amount of research before you even come on the scene. When I read that number, it changes my perspective on what I want to present, how I want to say it, and how conversational I want to be with that presentation. Because if they already have done research, if they're already digging into who I am and what I have and, experimenting on a few bots, I want to make that conversation a heck of a lot different than, hello, nice to meet you. How can I help you today? You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, a grand majority of the live chat on people's website, right? The grand majority of these things is it pops up, the little widget pops up, how can I help you today? And it stays there until you make it go away. How can I help you today it's a good general question, right? It's just making sure that people know you're there, that you're open, that you're taking questions, whatever. That's fine. It's fine stuff. But I need to know, this 57% number, now that I know where they're at, I know that absolutely I do not have to use any of my, get inside the door tactics. I don't need to, they're already on their way to a buying decision. What can I present there that will help people make a good informed decision about me and my services? Well, my friend, one of the things that I can do there, and one of the things that I have to do there, when people reach out, whether that's through a live chat on a website, whether that's through a bot, no matter what's going on, I need to know first what they know already. You know what I mean? A long, long time ago in a land far from here, there was a guy teaching one of our theater classes one day, and he said something that was so profound that it crosses the line. It really has crossed the line into every job I've ever had since then, and every business that I've had since then. And that is this: this guy was a sound designer, So what he does is, I mean, largely very technical and totally beyond what I could comprehend, but makes things sound good in a theater. Helps create what the soundtrack sounds like during a live theater production. Okay, it can be very technical, it can be very picky, depending on who you're working with. And so what he said to our class that day has stayed on my mind for 25 years now, I guess. And that is that, first of all, he has to figure out where that director is. The director is the person who calls the shots on a theater production. He has to figure out where they are first. What do they want? What's their vision? What's going on there? And then he has to fill in the part of the circle where the director stops. So imagine, if you will, a circle. He drew a circle on a tablet, and then he shaded in part of it, and he said, I have to figure out where that director is before I can fill out the rest with my knowledge and expertise. Okay. I think I have used that in every single job, everything I've ever done since then. You've got to stop and figure out where that person is at. If you don't, you run the risk of being annoying, telling that person something they already know. You run the risk of assuming that they're at a spot where they may not even be. Some people bring a lot to the table. Some people bring a lot of knowledge to the table and want things to work a certain way. Some people bring next to no knowledge and want you to tell them. You got to figure out where that person is. And this statistics, this 57%, tells us automatically where most people are by the time they reach out to you in the purchase process. Let me get caught up on the comments here, darlings. Stacy Brauka says, hello. Facebook user, this actually makes sense. I'd watched your show for a long time before wanting a bot. Well, there you go. And there it is. I mean, people have done their research already. It's not like they're first seeing you. And a lot of people, they want to make that entrance into their stuff really, really cool. But they forget that people enter at different times, with different amounts of knowledge, with different needs, with different requirements. People don't come into your world all the same way. They don't. And most of them, given the materials and the tools that they have at their disposal right now, most of them do a lot more research than we expect before they land upon us. So we can't all act like everybody's the same. We absolutely can't. Now, oh, you're here? Let me overwhelm you with information, because chances are they already know some or most of that information that you're about to tell them. This number, this 57%, changes my perception a lot. And you're right, Facebook user, which I assume you're Teresa, so I'll just call you Teresa. That makes sense. It does make sense. It does make sense. So instead of tell, or even show, when somebody starts asking questions on your website, on your bot, through your email, wherever they're coming to ask you the question, or contact you. Let's say contact. Most of the time it's contact with a question, though. So knowing that they've done a lot of research beforehand, the very first order of business is not give you information. It's finding out what information you already have. It's finding out what you know already. What's the background of that person, And it's a little bit difficult, isn't it? If it were as simple as somebody walks into my live shop If it were as simple as the olden days, where people wandered into shops and started asking questions, it'd be easy enough to figure out where that person was and their experience, figure out what they wanted, figuring out what they value. It'd be pretty easy to do because, if you just remain aware of that other person in your conversation, you'll do just fine. But how do you do that digitally? How do you do that nowadays? Nowadays. Sounds like such an old-fashioned word, doesn't it? Anyway, so how do we do that now? The first thing, and I know that some of you know what I'm about to say right now, but the very first thing is we got to ask them the questions. We got to ask them the questions and ask them to fill in the blank for us. Part of the qualifying questions that you have got to be in your process somewhere. It doesn't have to be through a bot. It's easiest through a bot, but it doesn't have to be. You have got to ask qualification questions, right? Part of these qualification questions need to be about what they already know. So you figure out how far in the process they are. You know what? Maybe they're reaching that 57%. It's an average, by the way, right? So some people might be 75% on their way to making a decision by the time they reach out to you. At that point, I consider it not my job to go overwhelming them with information. I want to answer the questions that they need answered. One of the things that I do as a default, as a catch-all, is have ask a question on a lot of my, have that ask a question button on a lot of my beginning interactions. That is really, really important to me to have the option there. Hey, if you don't take the option, that's okay. But if you have something specific that you need answered, I don't want to put you through a whole lot of other sifting through and, just figuring out and confirming. I don't want to put you through a whole lot of work. I want you to ask a question, and if I don't have a previously recorded answer, I want that to shoot right back to you. That's what I want. That's what I got to have. Because if you're 75% on the way to a decision, the last thing that you're going to want to hear is an infomercial about how cool I am. You want a specific question answered. So recommendation, knowing what we know about how much research people have done, have an ask a question button in those beginning interactions. Do it. Do it. What if you have one of those little widgets that pops up? What do you do then? For me, I want to let them know I'm there and I want to disappear. And to me, that mimics, walking into a store or whatever. You don't want to be chased down by everybody working there asking if you need something. Like, I've had those experiences. Have you had those experiences? You walk into a store and like, boom, they're on you. Like they haven't seen a customer in 3 or 4 hours or something. And everybody ends up asking you if you need something. And by the fifth person, you're like, could you guys just leave me alone for a second? I need to think. So I like to have mine pop up, say, hey, can I help you with anything? I'm right here if you need me. I'm right here if you have any questions, that kind of stuff. Not popping up on every single page of a website. Whoa, don't do that. Don't do that, people. Don't do that with your live chat. Don't do that with your bots. Have them come up at specific times in the client journey. What this does, it is I, Ms. Teresa. Well, welcome. Very good. So knowing what we know, how can we make that experience better? One is the ask a question button, but here's my challenge to you today. Here's my little thought experiment for you today. What I want you to do is put yourself in your shopper's shoes Now, if you just cannot put yourself in that mindset, that is okay. You can ask somebody else, friend of yours who knows your business and who will give you an objective opinion. Put yourself in the shoes of the research already. Do this. Do this. If you could put yourself in those shoes and imagine what it would be like to, okay, I'm approaching this website. I have this much information already. Or I'm approaching writing an email into this person. I have this much information already. And put yourself in those shoes if you can't find someone who will do it with you. And then talk about that journey. And then walk yourself through what happens next. What happens? Now, this happened a long, long time ago, probably, well, in internet years, but probably a couple of years ago, a friend of mine did an experiment online. And what he did was, his name's Stephen Healy, and he does a whole lot with live video. What he did was really interesting. He, because people were kind of asking to have his, it was live video something. Gosh, my memory. So Monday morning after a vacation, so I'm not expecting a whole lot. Anyway, he was promoting other people's shows, is what he was doing. And so people were asking him to promote, and he would promote, and then he would go back and he would say something to them on their Facebook page. Now, the Facebook page, something that, that page was publishing was something that Stephen was promoting. And he went back and he just put a comment or a question on people's Facebook page. And very little, it wasn't actually on the page as I recall. He wrote them a direct message. He wrote pages a direct message. But here's the thing that he found out, and that was shocking to me. Most people didn't answer. Most people did not answer their own, inbox questions. And I've been guilty of that myself. The thing is, we spend so much time trying to attract people, and yet we don't have regular habits around checking to see if anybody's asking questions, if anybody is out there responding. It's like we spend so much time trying, making sure all the signs to the, we spend a lot of time trying to make sure that the signs leading into, Six Flags or Disneyland or whatever it is look great. They're pointing the right direction. They've got enough pizzazz around them to catch people. And then we forget to answer the questions of the people who are knocking on the front door right now. I'm as guilty as anybody. But what I plan to do to turn that around is, it's all about habits, people. Which is kind of the second thing. The second takeaway for today is building habits around, making sure that there's nobody at the front door asking questions right now. Because those people, according to this data right here, and this statistic came from shortstack.com. They write a lot about interactive marketing, engagement marketing, and things like that. So I read a lot of their stuff. Knowing that this 57% number is there when people are asking that question, they're almost all the way in. And all I've got to do is be of service at that point. You might be missing out if you don't regularly check all of your channels, if you don't regularly check all your comments, if you don't regularly check everything. So know that. And if you've got problems building habits around that, then there is, third suggestion of the day, and many of you are probably doing all of that reflection and stuff that people do right at the end of the year. What did I do well? What could I have done better? You're looking at it business wise, you might also be looking at it personal wise. There's a guy out there whose name his name is James Clear. Spelled just like it sounds, James Clear. He writes books on habits and habit stacking and building. And there's another guy called BJ Fogg with two G's, and he also writes about beginning with small habits and doing habit stacking. Habit stacking is when you've got one habit and you've already got one habit established, you're just going to build something onto it. My exercise routine is a result of that. When I get out of bed in the morning and I stretch, the reason that it's the first thing that I do is because over time, that's the first thing I do is I get out and I start stretching my calf muscles. And that's the only thing I did for a while. And then I started adding other stretches on there. I'm already there stretching. It's not that big of a deal to flip over into more stretching. You know what I'm saying? So habit stacking, when you're thinking about your habits, when you're thinking about trying some new things in the new year, excelente, make sure all of your message options are covered. Make sure that someone is receiving the end of that on the other end of that message and answering back to people. Do this thing. Anyway, squirrel method attention getting in life and online is frustrating. It is frustrating. It's frustrating, and it just doesn't do you it just doesn't do you any good. We get into reactive mode, and that's what I'm taking from squirrel method. We get into reactive mode, and we don't often think about that experience. That, of course, is what I'm here for every day, every weekday. Usually this week, not so much, because we've got some stuff coming up. We have got an interview with Ms. Petra Contrada tomorrow. She has got a really cool system that her folks are doing. It's all about thriving in awesome times, thriving in uncertain times. It's all about thriving. I want her to tell you all about it, because I think that she's a pretty amazing woman, and I want you to know all about her stuff. So Petra is tomorrow, 10 o'clock Central. And then on Wednesday, it's going to be the 30th. I'm not going to be on Thursday or Friday this week because of the holiday. On the 30th, we'll do a little retrospective. We'll look at some things that have happened this year. We'll look ahead into the future a little bit. And we'll talk a little bit more, I think, about these habits. I'm not a person who, I think goal setting is really, really important. But I think that unless you've got a system that's going to take you there, a system that works day in and day out, a system that if you don't follow it for a couple of days, it's easy to get back into that routine. That's going to bring you more results and better results than just, darn it, I'm going to do this. Put your foot down and give it the best you got for about 2 weeks until you get really tired of it and then you stop. That's what usually happens with goal setting. We're not going to set SMART goals, people. The age is over. Let's go ahead and create great systems that are resilient to outside happenings, that are resilient to the different whims and different things that goes on in our day. Let's create great systems that are resilient and responsive and that help you get to where you want to go. So that's about what I have for the day. It was a great week. I had a really great holiday. I know the wife and I did. We hung out. We watched TV. I painted in the basement. Meg played some games online with some friends, and it was relaxing. It was just what we needed and just what we wanted. I hope your holiday was what you needed and what you wanted. And always, thank you for coming by today. It's been great seeing you, and got some great stuff coming up for you this week. Thanks for coming, and as always, I'll see you in a bot.